that's not right. But let's start where we left off. So welcome back to the 964. We left the car with the intake manifold almost completely removed, with oil inside it and oil leaking onto the engine. Today we're gonna finish that. First I take off the last remaining intake piece to get better access to another possible leak point. The crankshaft breather. It sits on top of the engine underneath the fuel pressure regulator. It's held in place by 4 nuts and access is a bit tight because of the rigid fuel lines. I remove it carefully and make sure nothing drops into the engine. Here we replace 2 things, the breather hose and the paper gasket underneath the breather housing. I remove the old gasket, clean the sealing surfaces, fit the new paper gasket, then reinstall the breather and tighten the new nuts to spec. With that done, we go back to the intake. On the sealing surfaces there was some really hard baked on residue. The only thing that worked was carefully scraping it off. I spare you the full process, but it involved a screwdriver, very fine sandpaper and a lot of patience. These are the results. Not pretty work, but the end justifies the means. Same story on the throttle body. Right side done, left side still to clean. The new rubber gasket for the intake body fits very snugly, which gives me the confidence we'll have a good airtight seal again. The reassembly is mostly a matter of time and remembering where everything goes. The throttle body itself has a lot of connections, plus the bracket for the outer sheet of the throttle cable. This will become the main character later. I assumed I could just bolt it on and forgot about it. Spoiler, I couldn't. There's quite a bit of free pay in that connection and it affects the throttle position at idle. In the meantime, I reconnected every hose I could find. At this point I only noticed that the throttle lever wasn't touching the micro switch, but since I thought I hadn't changed anything, I kept going. After a few more electrical connectors, the right side of the intake is ready to go back on. Then I reinstall the airflow meter and the air filter housing. What I forgot to show, on the back of the housing there's a small vacuum reservoir. Don't forget to reconnect the vacuum line to it, the rest is straightforward. Next up, the AC compressor. I bolt it to its bracket but don't tighten it yet. Then I fit the belt and use the small adjuster screw to set the tension . When I am happy with the belt tension, I tighten the lock nut again. On the other side, I reassemble the extra fan. Now we are nearly done in the engine bay. Let's install the upper engine tin, starting with the large rear piece. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it's a real pain because the fit is tight enough. You have to position it just right and then fight the rubber seal against the body. I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, but it's my best guess. The 2 side tints are much easier and go in without a fight. Just remember to refit the rubber of the ignition cables correctly. Finally, we can put oil back in the car. I start with 6 liters, the amount given in the manual. The rest will be topped up later with the engine running. With oil in the system, we can run a compression test. For this, we want the engine to turn over without starting. I pull the DME relay again and use the starter to crank the engine. Then I screw the tester into each cylinder and watch the readings. I'm not chasing exact numbers here, I just want to see if one cylinder stands out. They all look consistent, so I'm happy and move on. A nice side effect, while doing the test the oil pump is spinning and building up oil pressure. So there should already be oil everywhere inside the engine before the first real start. Then I reinstall the lower spark plugs with their connectors and move on to the lower engine tints. We are turning onto the finish straight. Let's do the exhaust. I start with the cup pipe using new clamps on each side and only finger tighten it to the car for now. Next I clean the sealing surface on the exhaust manifold where the cat is mounted. Then I install the cat with a new metal gasket and new nuts and bolts. I also reconnect the sensor. As a fun side note, I found an unusual connector and panicked for a moment. A quick search revealed that that is for the optional cruise control, which is wired into the harness even if the car doesn't have it. On the other side I mount the muffler. I tighten the clamp to the cup pipe first and then the 2 nuts on the muffler hanger. After that I tighten the clamp on the other side. And then the 2 bolts of the cup pipe. I also put back the lower heater pipe, nothing special, just 2 bolts and 3 clamps. The only thing that's left on the underside is a few shields of the cat and then a quick cleanup on the engine. Now there are just a few finishing touches left. It feels good. After around 3 weeks of on and off work, only the engine and the gearbox covers are missing. And one side skirt piece, but we will get to that later. For the first start, we move the car outside because we don't want to trigger the fire alarm. Back to the first start clip. The car fires up immediately, so the new check valve after the fuel pump seems to be doing its job. But the idle speed is higher than normal. I shut the engine off right away, checked the throttle linkage, adjusted a bit and tried again. Now the idle is closer to normal. I added another 3 liters of oil and let the car run for about 15 minutes to warm up. While it's warming up, the engine starts to raise the RPM again by itself, so I hold the throttle slightly to keep it under control. Once it is up to temperature, I set the oil level correctly to take that off the list. The next day, I come back to check the aftermath. I had placed paper under the car to spot any leaks, but nothing was on there. I looked underneath and saw a little bit of oil at the center seal, but that's not unusual. Hopefully it's just leftover oil from before the repair, slowly draining down as the engine gets hot. Then I took another look at the throttle issue to see if there's a quick fix. But that's a topic for the next episode. See you in the next one.